Unmute myself. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. I guess depending where you're at, it's afternoon here. I'm super excited for this hangout today to talk about emotional regulation. We've had a lot of posts in the PFASBT group. There's been a lot of really great books that have been discussed, a lot of great articles and ideas for branches. And so I'm just super excited for the presenters that are here today. I'm going to try and not say too much because there's a lot of topics to cover. So I'm going to go through what I've got. But if everybody could just maybe one or two words in the chat when you think about or when you hear emotional regulation, what first pops into your mind? Anyone? Calming down, emojis, being in control, understanding emotions, coping strategies, feelings, mindful breathing. Great, these are all great things. Emotional outbursts and sensory strategies. Body awareness. Wonderful. Responding safe to the environment triggers. Inability to get back on track. Yeah. Awesome. Mentalistic. Yep. Okay. Thanks everybody for sharing. I want to go through a little bit. You see this picture here. How are you feeling? And I've got a little line through it. This is how I was taught to teach emotions, and how I used to handle emotions is a little bit different than how I approach it now. I've been a BCBA for about 10 years, and I was taught that we don't do anything with emotions because we can't measure them, right? That's how I learned at the beginning, and how I learned and how I've learned to help people now is much different. So I'm going to talk about interoception in my slides, and then the content of the rest of this chat really dives deep into how we can teach, how we can better respond, and how we can help move people along. So go ahead, Penny. Okay, so interoception. You're going to hear me talking a lot about Kelly Mailer. I think it's how I say it, Mahler. I have a lot of stuff from her on this page. But interoception is from Dr. Bud Craig, and it's a sense that connects us with our internal body sensations. So we're talking about body clues. Is there a way to access the slides? Penny, will the slides be available?
The slides will be shared on Thinkific. They're not going to be shared today, but they'll be shared in our course. That's where we'll be sharing them.
Great, thanks. You can go to the next one. Okay, so interoception. This is a nice definition here. Again, it's from Kelly Mailer's website, but it's a clear awareness of your body's signal. It not only gives you important feedback about exactly how you're feeling, but it gives you valuable information about the situation at hand. And in cases of dysregulation, your body's signals serve as an alert that your internal body balance is off, and it motivates you to take action by doing something that will restore the internal balance and help your body feel more comfortable. So when we're talking about interoception, we're talking about the fact that there's a brain-body connection here, and noticing that there are signals in your body that can help you identify what your emotions are. Okay. So with interoception, we're talking about valuable clues that our body's giving us and information about emotions that we might be feeling. Some people have different degrees of how aware they are of their interoception signals. So some people might be under-aware of what their signals are. They may not be able to feel that fullness in their bladder and know that they need to use the restroom, or they may not be able to feel that their stomach is full and they might be done eating. So those are some things we can think about of either being under-aware or over-aware of interoception signals that our body's giving us that, hey, there's something changing here. There's something that needs attention here. Okay. So a reframe, when we're talking about challenging behavior, we want to reframe and think about this as maybe unmet needs or maybe missed cues that we're not being able to read from our body. So being able to identify and understand emotions in yourself, recognizing building signs of distress before a full meltdown or shutdown occurs, being able to use coping strategies during times of distress. There's a bunch of different things here. And again, most of this stuff is from her website. I'll throw it into the chat when I'm finished. But I really think it's important to reframe here, where we can notice these signals in our body and say, wow, okay, sweaty palms, and my chest is getting tight, and my body's feeling fidgety. What might that mean? And taking a look at that when we're helping people to go through co-regulation and eventually to self-regulation, whereas they're not having bad behavior, their body is responding in a certain way. Okay. So regulation before expectation. And if you haven't checked out Greg's stuff on Facebook, he's got a lot of great resources on there. So you'll find some good things there. You want to check that out. But a dysregulated child, and really a dysregulated person, is going to have difficulty following directions. So again, this reframe is, it's not a behavior problem, as in they won't listen. It's more of a regulation issue. So maybe they can't process what you're saying. So making sure that the child's regulated and able to meet expectations first before expecting them to do it, right? So we might not expect a person to take a bike for the first time and go for a 3-mile bike ride, right? Just the same way we can't expect someone to self-regulate if they don't know how to put the training wheels on and learn how to ride with a trusted adult. Okay. Mona Delahook, I know Emily's going to get into a lot on her. And if you haven't checked out her resources, she is wonderful. This is a beautiful rabbit hole to fall into. But co-regulation here is when we help our children to regulate their emotions by soothing, comforting, and supporting them. So emotional co-regulation is attuning to and supporting another person through our presence. Cool, I've got 2 images here. I don't know really why I put them in this exact spot. I just knew that they needed to be in here. I don't think it really fits into the flow. But I've got 2 images here. To the left is, let me see, where did I get this from? Because I have this all over my center. The National Institute for Clinical Application of Behavioral Medicine is trauma affecting our window of tolerance. So this is a really good image you can find, talking about in the middle there where you're feeling in a really great place, you can handle things a little bit better. And when you are feeling hyper aroused, maybe anxious, angry, out of control, or overwhelmed, it takes a little bit less to kind of set you off. And when you're feeling hypoarousal, so spaced out or numb, frozen, you know, these aren't things that we choose. This is our body giving us the signals that something needs to change. Over there to the right is interoception. It just shows there's so many different things that we should be considering, not just looking at the behavior that's occurring in front of us, but really understanding why and what those signals are. So you can see self-care, body awareness, cognition, emotional regulation, social participation, a bunch of these things that interoception is linked directly to. Okay. So sustained experiences of emotional co-regulation with a caring adult or adults are needed before someone can build the capacity for self-regulation. So teaching about regulation usually assumes that the person already possesses the foundation of social emotional development, and that we know that people need to experience social emotional development through caring and attuned relationships with people first. I know I'm going quickly. Does anyone have any questions? Just kind of laying the foundation for what's really more into the rest of this presentation. Okay, great. So some considerations. So learning the history of the person, learning in the past how people have responded to those challenging behaviors. That's really, really important to know, you know, did the person in the past when they had challenging behavior get sent to a timeout or sent to a break? Did they not get a connection with somebody? And if you're trying to now do co-regulation and connect with that person, you need to be aware that it might take a little while for that person to get comfortable with you and know that they need to, that they have somebody there that can help them through it. Being relentless in your attempts to understand the person. So this is super important. I don't mean relentless in a negative way. I mean, be relentless in the fact that you should remain curious at all times. If you're offering something for co-regulation, maybe you're offering a hug and that doesn't work because the learner then escalates further, that's important information. So you want to modify what you're doing. You want to, Penny's got some amazing graphs at the end of this presentation. You want to try different things, right? What works for one person or what works for you may not work for the person that you're trying to support. So making sure that you're using sensitive observation, that you're taking data on the responding to your co-regulation. Is this helping? Is this not helping? Going beyond the surface. So again, Emily's going to touch on this with Mona Delahook's iceberg visual, so I won't go too much into that. Taking into account interoceptive needs, does the person know how to identify that they're having a tough time? Does the person know how to identify, man, I'm stressed out right now? And if they don't, we can't just teach by saying, you know, we can't use these like pictures. Are you feeling surprised? Are you feeling scared? This is not a meaningful way to teach the person how they're feeling and make that brain-body connection. So you may want to explore different ways of teaching that beyond, you know, discrete trials and pictures of people making sad faces. We may want to talk about, you know, making brain-body connections, putting something in your hand and squeezing it. How does that feel? Does that feel tense? Okay, and so maybe in the natural environment when their hand's getting tense, hey, I noticed your hand is feeling tense. You know, you're squeezing it. Do you feel sweat on your hand? So calling attention to that is a great way to connect interoceptive needs into what might be an emotion connected to that. And then appreciate your role as a co-regulator. So our job is not done. We don't just teach in a set on a table with discrete trials. Multiple exemplars across, you know, different teaching environments is really important, and we are a vital role in teaching how to co-regulate. Okay, so when to teach, we know this. We're not going to teach during a meltdown. We're gonna help and get the learner what they need, what the person needs right away, right? We want to be there in that moment with the person. We're not going to go and say, okay, it looks like you're getting mad, and let's you know, when you're mad, what can we do? Yeah, sure, we can do that if the person is at that skill. But if you're just starting co-regulation with a person, just help them. Just step in and help them. Do they need a hug? Do they need something to squeeze? Keep offering things. If you're trying to find out what can help them to co-regulate, you're the person. That's your mission. Help them get comfortable first. And then you're going to take those notes on, you know, what worked in that situation and how can we use that moving forward to support them to learn how to co-regulate first before we try and assume and expect them to self-regulate. Yeah, okay. So I've got some steps here. So knowing the history we talked about. So interviewing the person, observing the person, chatting with people that worked with the person in the past, investigating. Yes, yes, Rosalie, there you are. Do you have anything to add, Rosalie? I know I'm going fast.
No, keep going. I just love what you said about the kind of investigating, right? Like at our foundation, we're scientists. That's what we're there to do. So I just love that you said that.
Thanks for chiming in. I love that you're here. Okay. Yeah, so making sure you're knowing about the learner's the person's history, investigating their interoception awareness, to ask, collaborate, take data, figure out what's going on with that person. Do they have this skill? Do we need to teach that skill? Do we need to teach them what certain body feelings mean for them and what that usually looks like? Co-regulate in a way that's meaningful to the learner, make those modifications, be consistent, show up for that person. I think a lot of times, gosh, when I'm thinking back to looking at behaviors and I see a meltdown, which what I used to call a tantrum, I see that happening, and it used to be go take your break, and when you're calm, use your words, tell me what you need. And gosh, I think about that now and I'm like, if someone tells me to relax and go sit somewhere else, that's the last thing that's going to help me calm down, right? I might need them to bring me a cup of coffee, or maybe just send me a nice text or a funny meme or something like that. You need people, right? And so it's really important that, you know, we're reframing what that looks like to looking at it. This is a behavior in a vacuum. Go take this break, and when you're ready, come here. We're not helping our learners. We're showing them that we're not here for you, and that's the opposite of what we're trying to do. So teaching skills that are meaningful, taking data, making those modifications, be a scientist. Continue to be available for co-regulation. This isn't once you learn self-regulation, co-regulation's over. We always want to be available to help people through challenging times. And then we hit expectation at the end. So yeah, there's an awful lot of really great content coming up. So this is just a little brief intro, and I'm going to pass it off to, I think, Emily, you're next, right? Oh, Rosalie, great.